we do get a very important detail that even though Yumi can talk, she can't read.
But she's helping out with books.
Welcome to Casuals of Runeterra, a normal episode. Episode 180. We have a number. I think it's 180. I hope it's 180.
When's the last time
I'm your
we
host,
gave a
Ryan. Here we
number?
go, the host, Ed.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I can't even be gross. I don't remember when we put out a number. Like, this is my first time recording.
Bro, where's my pen and pad? I'm not even taking notes. Housekeeping up top. You can listen to us everywhere. Visit us at podcastcore.com for all of our info. Email us at podcastcore. Remember, that's podcastcor@gmail.com. Follow us on all the platforms and listen to us and like us and comment wherever you listen most. And then word of mouth has gotten us this far. So tell a friend to take the unexpected head on by listening to the Casuals of Runeterra podcast.
God, this whole intro has been the unexpected, and we're just tackling it head on.
We refuse to buckle. You know what's crazy? We don't even know who wrote this.
Damn it.
This was doomed to be a mess from the get-go. Yeah. We're talking about Norra today, which if you've listened for a while, we talked about Norra a while back during when Runeterra was still an active game, Legends of Runeterra. And we didn't have much information there, but we talked about Yumi. So go listen to our Yumi episode. I'll find that number for you in a second. But since this is newer, there's not really a log of who wrote this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this is, as far as like bio is concerned and the actual treatment as a champion, this is all very new because before this was only Runeterra.
Yeah.
So it's cool as far as like that we get to talk about a Runeterra character again. It's also cool that we get to kind of flesh out some of the questions that we had when she was initially announced. Well, we got one question answered, which is, will she ever be a real champion? Here she is. So that part's neat, but since it is all fresh, we're going to be walking away with this with more questions.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have some answered, but there will be more.
But listen to episode 99 and episode 100. Those are our Yumi episodes, and you kind of need those for this because this picks up during the event that's happening at this point, which is essentially, spoilers, Yumi is lost from Norra, and they're trying to get back to each other, which, obviously is heart-wrenching. But this specific story actually touches on something we may be all familiar with from our younger days, which this plays out like it's inspired by the Sorcerer's Apprentice, Fantasia, Wizard Mickey, right? Something that's ingrained in animation culture.
This is the classic cartoon. It's like, especially when you're thinking about like anything Disney related for the millennial generation. Yeah. This is the one shared experience that we all know we had. But it's nice to see it with a League of Legends skin over it.
Yeah, so let's hop into it. All good stories told in 3 parts. This one's a bit shorter, but we figured it out. And we start with Norra, who's frantically looking through some trinkets and tomes for something. And she's magically kind of moving herself around the room in this library in a whimsical fashion, but she can't really find this knick-knack that she's looking for.
And the little scenes that we get as far as her looking for this knick-knack are really cool because it's like some of the books that are moving, like the letters are actively moving and changing, like the books are talking to her.
Yeah.
So there will be some that like their letters shift and go into all caps and say, please read me.
Very, even like Harry Potter-esque in ways.
Oh yeah, definitely giving a vibe of like the moving pictures, living, breathing art.
Yeah. And then suddenly as she's looking for stuff, a voice calls out and says, "Is this the one?" And we get to see Yumi, and she knocks off this strange metal trinket off of one of the high shelves, and it begins to fall. And then Norra magically manipulates these comically large stacks of books that she's perched on top of to head in that direction so she can reach and catch the trinket.
And of course, like I feel like a broken record because I've got to say this with so many different episodes, but it's nice to see like a little bit of inclusion of like how Nora works, in game, like
Yeah.
kind of into the story. But it also gives that Fantasia kind of vibe to it of just like, like I'm riding this living dragon, but it's
Yeah.
books.
And if you're coming, we probably should have mentioned, obviously, this is a little detour finally from our Noxus adventure. It's been a very dark, gritty, on the nose, deep politics, all that, to this whimsical adventure. Don't worry, this is sad as well, but at least it's a change of pace. So we hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, we're giving a bit of a breather for Noxus. We're pretending like it's for you. It was a little bit for us. Like, there's Runeterra is a huge world, and there's a lot of characters and regions to talk about. So it's nice to get to, even if we are talking about a friggin' Yordle,
Oh,
it's
that's right, I
nice.
forgot.
It's nice to talk about something a little different than the norm.
Every few months, we forget that Hetch is a bigot. It's the ultimate PR campaign.
Don't trust them new Yordles over there.
So part one ends with Nora. She catches the object, and then Yumi decides, I'm going to jump as well. And then she jumps, kind of panics, then remembers she's a cat, and then lands comfortably in Nora's arms. And then Nora begins to wonder, what this thing is. Because even though she was looking for something, she doesn't know if this is it. So she begins exploring the item, turning it over and tapping on all of its sides. And that's where part one ends.
Yeah, and it's nice as far as like to get an answer that we had back when we covered Yumi. Which if you haven't listened to those episodes, you're crazy to still be here, but thank you. But one of the things that we talked about was if we would ever get to know who Yumi's owner is. And this kind of just sets it into stone. It's just like, okay, now like Yumi is talking to Nora
Yeah.
and they're understanding each other. And we all know whether you're a cat person or not, a cat chooses you, you don't get to pick it. So if Yumi's in Nora's arms, she's been chosen.
Yep. And I love the information we get in this passage. Because read this, because this is more visual than it is like just hard content, right? That's why this will be a quick cover of this story. But we do get a very important detail that even though Yumi can talk, she can't read.
But she's helping out with books.
Which I had a good chuckle at. But part two begins, and Yumi begins to, curiosity killed the cat. So Yumi starts helping with this inspection, but is a bit reckless. And Nora tells her to be careful, but it's too late. And Yumi accidentally swipes at a button that clearly reads, "Do not push."
Yeah, I mean, what curious animal that doesn't act like a 3-year-old that has enough motor function to ruin everything in your house. So luckily we don't have to have any kind of facade into Nora's life leading up to this. Right out the gate,
Yep.
Yes, Yumi's causing chaos.
Yep. And then suddenly there's this loud screech that comes from this device, and it begins spewing this blue goo upwards to the ceiling, and it slowly starts to arch towards them. So Nora casts the bubble on Yumi because she's the closest to it, and tells her, "Hey, start looking for an off switch."
Which is wild that she's going to be like, okay, look, you're the one that started this, so you're going to go ahead and find the off switch with your full ability to read. Oh, wait, you can't read. Like we're going into Three Stooges territory.
Oh, it's definitely comical. And Yumi obviously is like, okay, cool, and just starts pawing at it again, hoping for something to happen. And luckily, one of her claws gets caught and yanks a switch, and that stops it. And Nora asks Yumi, "Hey, how'd you know to turn off?" And she tells Nora, "I didn't." And then Yumi asks Nora, "Well, why was this the device you were looking for?" And she told Yumi, "I don't remember." And then they both just start laughing hysterically at the shenanigans. And that's where part two ends.
Um, I I wish that we got a bit more as far as like with this trinket because like start shooting blue goo. Like
Yeah.
what in the world? Like there's there's not anything that, like, in my mind, lore-wise, that connects to, like, it might be something like this. This is something that's entirely in its own world inside of a bio of the newest champion, and it's like, okay, okay, who knows? I have no answers. I only have questions about what this blue goo machine is.
Oh, it's definitely a doohickey, and we'll talk about that at the end of who possibly made this doohickey because we get a little bit of hint earlier on in the story. But part three jumps to the sad stuff. We're back in the present, and currently Nora's waking up from a cold dream in a shiver, holding that device that we talked about firmly. And she's kind of staring at what we got the name of the realm's end swirling around her. I don't know what this is. We'll talk about that as well. And she's shivering at the fact that she's so far from that comfortable memory and that comfortable library. We're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah. No, we are not in Kansas anymore, and it is quite a sobering change of tone too, because the last image of her dream is her laughing with her best friend,
Yeah.
and then, all right, here we are. Like
Elder
even when
Scrolls opening.
literally, because it's like what's swirling around me, the realms in. Like, God, Debbie Downer to the full extent.
Yeah, and she looks at the device, and that button that we talked about so many times long ago now reads lost question mark push me. And Nora knew that this item would be useful in the past. That's why she thinks she was looking for it, but she didn't know it then. And she looks over at the item now alone, right, without Yumi there. And it's one of those things that reminds her of the memories. And she mentions earlier that items and books aren't just about the information that they pertain to, but the memories attached to them. And Nora, with her magical ability, can see into that and utilize that as well and pull on those threads, as they're called. And she does that. This device is tied to her and Yumi, so she looks at it as a memory device and puts her trust into it.
And that does give us a bit more context as far as like what we're looking at. Also that like this is communicating to her in the same way that the books are, which is an interesting note, but an important note because so far we've only seen that happening with the books. And I guess now it's going to be more of a question of is Nora convinced that she's the one that's lost, or is Yumi the one that's lost? And then like how does this button help in that regard?
Mhm.
But that's more of just like end game discussion.
Yeah. So we wrap up the story with her finding resolution in her promise that she would make her way back to Yumi. So she activates the device, and this time, instead of a screech, it plays a pleasant song. And this reminds her of home. And Nora focused hard on that memory of that device and that time. And a portal flickers open in front of her, and she steps inside and disappears.
And there we go. Like we said earlier, this one is kind of quick as far as like the overall meat to get into. If there's some more meat that you want with it, like the Yumi stories
Mhm.
do have that. But it does give us some insight as far as like Nora, not only as a character, but also as a playable champion, like a lot of portal manipulation, as well as manipulating the other objects around her.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things lore wise is that she is opening portals.
Yeah.
That's that's impressive because a lot of the before this, the only other person that was opening portals was Yumi,
Hmm.
and now we know why because Nora's the one opening them, or at least she learned it from Nora.
Hmm.
Um, so we do get that, but if you hadn't been listening to some of our other Bandle City stuff, the other Yordles don't do this. They
Hmm.
just know where the portals are. Like they
Yeah.
keep track of them throughout all of Bandle City. So this is Nora is on an adventure that legitimately no one else can truly follow,
Hmm.
and
It's
that's
cool.
pretty neat.
Yeah, for sure. And this takes us to our general discussion. So this will be a quick one. The doohickey creator. So early on in the story, as Nora's looking at this device, right, and trying to figure out, well, what is it? She mentions that it seems to be made by a magnificent yordle. And the first person that obviously comes to mind is Heimendinger.
And that is definitely, like, the leading theory that I can hold on to, but
Yeah.
also, like, what the hell does Heimerdinger do with blue goo? Um,
Yeah.
a and then, like, there's also, like, some, as far as, like, when we're talking about magnificent yordles, Heimerdinger is far from the only tinkerer inventor.
Yeah.
There's Corky, who we haven't even talked about on this show at all. But some of the ones that we have talked about would be your Rumble
Hmm.
and Ziggs.
Hmm.
Like, don't forget, Ziggs is a student of
Yep.
Heimerdinger's. He just has a penchant for something else. Um, but so I wonder if, like, this is gonna be, because it's like, thinking about the blue goo, I wonder if this is gonna be their way of, like, tying in the Yordles more wholesale into the shows.
Hmm.
Because especially looking at Arcane, like, the way that Hextech is presented to us is very different than what the lore was leading up to Arcane.
Yeah.
And this could definitely be something that ends up tying them together. Whereas, like, maybe this is Heimerdinger's first invention involving Hextech,
Hmm.
because he's not down with it. But maybe there's a point in the timeline where he's like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And if we've seen anything from Echo's story, time travel is not that far fetched.
Hmm. All the other crap going on. It's just another drop in the pond, right?
Just another drop in the bucket.
So
Oh.
the second part is, as Hetch mentioned, the quote, impossible architecture of Realm's End that swirled around her. So there are a couple examples of what we think this might be. One is obviously related to Ruination in the Serpentine Isles and what happened there, where you do have a lot of structures that are suspended in space that can move. And it would be a place that, if she ended up teleporting there, would be a place you would shiver and be cold. So that makes sense there. Outside of that, I mean, there are some other places that this could occur.
Like, another place that came to my mind would be like Acathia.
Yeah.
And just like maybe like the Realm's End could be the, like, the effect of the void,
Hmm.
like, eating up existence
Yeah.
there. But Acathia is now frozen in time
Hmm.
while that's happening. So maybe that whole, like, erasure from
Yeah.
existence, despite the fact that parts of it still exist here, creates this Realm's End. I would shiver in the
Yeah.
presence of that. That's some Lovecraftian horror shit. So that would get under my skin.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then finally, I think the only other place I can think of is Targon, top of Mount Targon, right? There's a possible that there's something there
Yeah.
that could be related to Phelios
Ah,
or Aurelian Soul.
that is not where I thought you would go. I thought
Oh,
you'd
you
go
have a
to
fourth
one of
one?
your favorites. Yeah, I do have a
What's
fourth
the fourth
one. We
one?
don't know where Lysandra is,
Yeah.
and the Freljord's cold.
Yeah. So,
But we do know that Lysandra is, like, connected as far as within, like, the perma ice or the permafrost, whatever. Why am I blanking on that right now
just
like an
true
idiot?
ice.
The true ice.
Yeah.
We do know that she has ways of manipulating that, and we do know that she's kind of chilling with some watchers.
Hmm.
Like, that's the most that we know. Like, but where the hell are the watchers? Because they're not in this plane of existence. Maybe they're at Realm's End.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. They didn't answer that directly. There's not much information out there, but leaves it open enough because, unfortunately, Nora didn't come with any stories. And with Yumi, we have Yumi's bio and her story. So we know there's more in the pipeline because for them to, give us a glimpse of Nora so early on in the Legend of Runeterra days and to follow through here shows there's commitment to those two stories. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to it.
And I'm very interested to see why the decision was made as far as to have Yumi come out before Nora.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like that's going to have, like, I not that it's going to have, but I feel like it does have doors as far as multiple kind of possibilities
Mhm.
of having some very big impacts throughout the rest of the world of Runeterra. Because again, Norra can create portals.
Yeah.
So if Norra can create portals, there's very high chances that people who have never been to Bandle City in the story could end up following them. Because, just with us talking about Realm's End, we ended up naming some of the scariest places in all of Runeterra,
Mhm.
trying to figure out what the hell Realm's End could be or could mean. And if we're naming off the most terrifying places in all of Runeterra, I feel like the greatest cross section of champions could be that she just runs into Neela.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That would be a wild card, yeah.
Neela's just smiling at her,
Oh,
except it's that
no.
weird, crazy eye twitch smile.
Yeah.
And Nora's just like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, that's actually a great, you know what? Let's leave off with that thought, because I didn't even think about that. Oh, man.
Oh God, could you imagine a storyline of just something else happening and then a portal opens up and Nora is just running through it, opening another portal to go through, and Neil is just chasing her. And going all across Runeterra Looney Tunes style.
That would be horrific, right? Um, Definitely go check out our Neela episodes. I think we had 2 of them.
At least 2. We talked about her a lot because her bio or her story involves hunting monstrosities. So we talk about her a lot because we want to know what is next for her in the story pipeline. Like, who is she going to go off fighting and killing? Which is why I kind of enjoy this Norra idea, because then it just turns this weird twisted character into a Looney Tunes villain.
Yeah, and our Neela episode is episode 135 and 136. So check those ones out, so you can be as terrified of her as we are. But with that, as always, thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with the next episode. Who knows what it will be about?
Yeah, no telling. We don't know. Not for sure. Yeah, take care, everybody.